Right now, let's talk about, well, hopefully keeping more people alive, and that is what will hopefully happen as a result of Rishi Sunak acknowledging concerns over safety over smart motorways, and the plan for more smart motorways are to be scrapped. A total of 14 planned motorways, including 11 that have already been paused and 3 earmarked for construction, will be scrapped from the government's road building plans in recognition of the problems. For years, family members of victims have campaigned against the plans on the basis that actually they are simply unsafe. Campaigners say that at least 79 deaths have been linked to so-called smart motorways. The government figures say there were 38 recorded deaths between 2015 and 2019, clearly attributed to smart motorways. Smart motorways not being very smart. It's where you basically don't have a hard shoulder. It all relies on the technology, cameras and signs warning people that somebody has broken down on the side of the road. But of course, if it's still a lane that people are driving down at 70 miles per hour, then we do see the inevitable deaths. Well, one of the victims of that is the husband of my next guest. Claire Mercer is from the Smart Motorways Kill campaign and joins us now. Good morning to you, Claire.
Morning.
Good morning. Good to speak to you again. And at least we've got some sense coming as a result of campaigners like you putting the horrible, sad death of your husband, Jason Mercer, in 2019, killed on a smart motorway, sort of trying to get some good to come out of it to save other people's family members. Presumably you welcome the news that no new smart motorways are going to be built.
Well, yes, but obviously the immediate problem is the existing ones. Why are we dealing with the ones that aren't even killing us yet? And even then, it's not all of the ones in the pipeline that have been cancelled. They've already admitted there's still 2 that are going to open, the M56 and M6 sections that are going to open without hard shoulders, and there's absolutely no reason for it. The first lane is physically there, so why can't any of these open with the first lane turned off?
I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? I have to say, it's the fact that they're called smart motorways is the bit that amazes me. There was a reason why we had hard shoulders. It was so people who were broken down had somewhere safe to be. And we already know, even with a hard shoulder, it's incredibly dangerous for people to remain in their cars. Your chances of being clipped and hit, by passing lorry or coach is actually incredibly high. They're already unsafe places to be as a stationary vehicle, but to not have anywhere safe at all. The idea was it was all supposed to be high-tech, wasn't it? You'd have gantries, there'd be cameras. Anyone who broke down, immediately that would be spotted on a camera, and then the gantry sign, miles ahead of it would say, this lane is closed, get out of this lane, and they'd be safe. And again, it's been shown that I think 40% of breakdowns are undetected. So people are sitting there thinking they're probably safe and that lane is closed, and people are driving up 70 miles per hour behind them.
Yep, exactly. The technology doesn't work. They've got problems with the software. They've got problems with the gantry. They've got problems in the fact that there's nowhere near enough CCTV operators employed, because every inquest that I end up into a death at smart motorways, national highways say we've got 100% CCTV coverage. But then when they're pushed, they admit that, yes, every section of the motorway is covered by cameras, but there's no one watching the monitors. They don't employ anywhere near enough people.
And this is so basic. Neither you nor I mean, you've had to learn to be an expert on this because of the horrible events in your family. But you're not an expert and I'm not an expert. But it's obvious to us. Why isn't it obvious to the people whose job it is to keep us safe on our motorways?
Exactly. And then I've been pushing for corporate manslaughter charges in this, and the Crown Prosecution Service got involved and spent a year looking into it and came to the conclusion that national highways do not owe the motorist a duty of care, so therefore cannot be prosecuted for corporate manslaughter.
That's extraordinary. Again, the whole premise of this is that there is someone watching the cameras. For people who perhaps haven't heard from you before, tell us a little bit about why you got involved in this and what happened to your late husband.
My husband was on his way to work one Friday morning, 8:15 on a Friday morning, so very busy, in Sheffield, the M1, junction 34. He had a minor collision. It should have just been a bad start to the day for 2 drivers, and they should have been on their way within minutes. but they were at a sign that said no hard shoulder for 4 miles. 4 years ago, we knew virtually nothing about smart motorways because they were sneaked in by the back door, so you couldn't object to what you didn't know about. And they didn't know what to do. They did travel further along the road, trying to find somewhere safe to stop. That's seen on CCTV footage, but they couldn't find anywhere, and it is your legal obligation to stop after an accident. So they pulled over as far left as they could, but couldn't get right out of the live running lane because of the crash barrier, and they themselves couldn't get over the crash barrier because there was a 30-foot drop onto the road below. So they were stranded in a live running lane, and HGVs doing 56 miles an hour cannot manoeuvre like a Ford Fiesta, and they ploughed into them bodily. They weren't even in their vehicles. They were stood on the side of the road when a HGV hit them. Now, technology should have picked them up as soon as they stopped. It certainly should have picked them up when a HGV caused carnage across 4 lanes of the motorway, and their bodies and vehicles were across all 4 lanes. But again, the technology didn't even pick them up then, and it relied on members of the public phoning in saying, for the love of God, close the motorway. So this technology just does not work. It didn't even work when they were dead and it was too late. And it's all done. At the time, I was told it was done to save 4 minutes a day for the average commuter.
Oh, well, that must be worth it. But also it was saving money, wasn't it? These hard, like, get rid of the hard shoulder instead of, if you can convert these motorways, you get an extra lane, and it's basically 10% cheaper than building a whole new lane with an extra hard shoulder. We'll save some money, but we don't save lives. It was so noticeable. I'm sure everyone watching and listening knows the change in your voice. You're such a strong woman, and you're trying to have some good, not just justice, but saving other families going through what you've gone through. So needlessly, so pointless, as you say. It should have just been a, oh, you won't believe what happened to me on Monday morning. What a nightmare story, as opposed to you losing your, the love of your life, losing your husband. And you're trying to change it, but the change in your voice straight away. Every time we have a story about this, now there is some victory here, and hopefully we can get more sense and get the existing smart motorways turned back into normal motorways with hard shoulders. But does it take its toll every time you do these interviews and you speak up and you're doing such wonderful work, but does it take its toll on you personally?
I think it does, yes. It's desensitised me to it. And in that way, I didn't deal with the grief. He was the love of my life. We were so unbelievably close. I should have been in the car. He drove me to work and back every day. We even met at dinner times. We were just with each other constantly. We decided not to have children. We were just going to be selfish and just have each other. But that day I was ill, and I knew something had happened to him before the police contacted me. I phoned the police because we were hearing about the utter carnage and the backlog through in the entire area, and he wasn't messaging me, and he messaged me all the time, even just to tell me that the sandwich I'd made him was nice and things like that. And it absolutely blows your life apart. And I'm 4 years down the road, and I've already had another nervous breakdown this year. It just blows your whole life apart, and you don't move on, you start again. And I'm only just starting to feel strong enough to do that.
Well, you are an incredibly brave, courageous woman, and you will have saved lives. What you've done will have saved other women, other men going through what you have gone through. And hopefully we can keep that campaign going, and we can get rid of them. They're not smart, and they might save some millions, but they don't save lives. Claire Mercer, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate that.